Sarah, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you here on the show.
Aneta, it is my pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
Yeah, I really want to get into your story. I know that you have this mission on your heart to inspire others through your own experiences. So, for those that maybe aren't as familiar with your background and your story, can you just take us back to how things began?
I want to start from where I went to college. When I went to college far away from home in 1975, all of a sudden there was a communist group took over the country and they shut down all the transportation. I was not able to go home to be with my family. And the communist regime evacuated the people from all the city, and I was evacuated and was put in the work camp, and miserable, starving, exhausted, and sick and tired. But I still have hope that one of these days I will be able to go back home to be with my family. I tried to hold on during the 4 long years in the work camp that was extremely hard for everyone. But I was able to hold on now to die because of my hope that I can be with my loved one.
So, you were in college. How old were you when you were taken out, when the regime came in and you had to go work in these work camps? And what did they tell you? What was that like when they closed the schools and they took all the students?
They told us to leave the house. They don't want us to live in the city anymore.
Okay. And then were you all transported together, like you with your friends and your classmates? You said you went from the city into these work camps. So what was that like? How did they take everyone?
I went with my uncle's family and we walked for a long time. And when we got to a remote village, they also transport me to the other place. They want to fill people everywhere.
Mm,
And they want to put people to work at different locations. So when they came to the city, the school was already shut down because they came during the holiday, the New Year celebration.
okay.
So the school was not in session. So I was not with my classmate.
Wow. So did you have any communication at all with your family before you had to go to these work camps?
No, it was a sudden takeover. They shut down everything, and then all the bus line was shut down, and there was no place for me to make a phone call. Back then, we don't have the cell phone.
Right.
So even the letter, I couldn't even send the letter. So there was no communication. We don't know from each other.
It must have been frightening and isolating. Did you know anybody in your work camp? Did you recognize anyone else?
No, not at all. But we began to make friends with one another.
Hmm. What were those conditions like? How many hours did you have to work? Were you working in the field or what were you specifically tasked with?
We work in the field, in the rice field, in the heat. So Cambodia is a tropical country. When it's hot, it's very hot.
Yeah.
And we work in that hot sun all day long, like about 15 hours a day. And we receive very little food, very little. And most men, they have a hard time surviving with that little food. For us women, we don't eat as much as men. We survive. More of us survive more than the men.
Wow. They gave you guys the same amount of food
Yeah.
regardless.
Yes.
Do you think it was just physical, or was there any difference in terms of the mental strength between the people that survived and those that didn't?
Oh, definitely. It's not just the physical.
Mhm. How did you survive? What was going through your mind as you mentioned wanting to see your family again, but what kept you going? Because you didn't know how long you were going to be there.
No. I don't know, but I have hope. The one thing I know that I did not give up hope. I hope that things will change. And I just imagine that it will change because I don't believe that we can live this way forever.
Yeah.
Things will change. So that gave me hope. And also my love for my mom gave me more courage because this is something that I didn't mention earlier. My mom had an accident and she became paralyzed for
Mm.
almost 4 years. And I am the oldest daughter. I was taking care of my mother. And my love for her, I did not do it with grumping. I do it with my love. I really want my mom to get well again. So my service, my care for my mom built us a very strong relationship. We developed a strong love bond. That love bond, it was like a lifeline for me during my hard time.
Oof, isn't that amazing how even if you're not physically connected with someone, like not in the same space, it's that emotional bond, that love from your heart that kept you going. It reminds me of Viktor Frankl, who went through his own experience and talked about the difference between those that survived and those that didn't in the concentration camps. And we know that the regime that came in killed millions of people in Cambodia. What was it like after the 4 years? What happened after 4 years? Were you just released suddenly one day? Because I can't imagine that you knew when things would change. You had this hope, but you didn't know how long it would take.
Yes, 4 years into this situation, the country was liberated. But I was not liberated. The group that controlled me and my group, they push us into the jungle. They know that something is happening. The group that come to liberate us was the Vietnamese group. Yeah. Toward the end of 4 years, there was something strange going on, and the guard that guard our group, they pushed us into the jungle, and we didn't know about the liberation. But I know that I don't want to live in the jungle with them, so I planned an escape. I gathered three of my good friends and asked them to see if they want to escape with me because I was too frail. I was sick so many times, very sick, and become very skinny. So I need some support. So I asked my friend, and they agreed to escape. So we did. We did escape through the jungle, and thank goodness, God must have been watching us and protecting us in the jungle. So we,
Wow.
yes, we came out free. When we got out from the jungle, we saw people walking like we were so surprised why these people are walking freely. I didn't know about the liberation.
Oh my gosh. So you're in the jungle, you're experiencing these harsh conditions, you're there for a while, you finally got the courage to say, okay, let's try to make a run for it, not knowing what you would find, but just assuming maybe it would be better than where you were. So, how long was a country liberated before you knew, before you made that escape?
It's about 4 months.
4 months.
4 months.
And how did you find your way back home? What were you able to do? How far away from home were you when you came out of the jungle?
I was not that far, but because of the guard, the armed guard, that they are watching us everywhere with their gun, it seemed so far away because we were afraid to do anything. But finally, at the end from the jungle, we get out. And when I see people walking and I ask them the direction to go to my hometown, so they tell us where to go. So we just follow the direction and we walk and walk a long walk.
Did you find your mother at home when you got there?
Not at home. They have been displaced. Our home was destroyed.
How did you know where to find her? How did you find each other?
I couldn't find them, and then I realized I remember my aunt. One of my aunt was the nurse long time ago, and I thought about her. I said maybe she's in the hospital. I went to the hospital looking for her. Good thing that hospital is in operation. They're working. They open now. So sure, I found her at the hospital, and she told me to go to her house. She told me where her house is, and one of her daughter took me to my family.
That is so amazing. And what was that reunion like when you and your mother were able to embrace again?
It's amazing. My mom was so excited, and my dad was not home. I asked her, "Where is dad?" She said, "He ride the bicycle everywhere, asking for people if
Oh,
they found me." He asked people, "Have you found my daughter? Have you met my daughter? Have you seen my daughter?" Everywhere.
I have goosebumps all over my body thinking about that. And I can't even imagine how hard it was for him to not have found you, but also for you to know that he was looking for you.
Yes.
They never lost hope.
No. And
Mm.
my mom told me later on, long time later, she told me, when I came see her the first time, she didn't recognize me because I was just so out of shape. She said the only thing she recognized was my voice and my forehead.
Only a mother would notice those things. Mm. What was it like to integrate back? First of all, it's not the same country, it's not the same society. People have gone through so much. What was it like for you to integrate back into a home life, into I don't know if I can use the word freedom. I don't know what that felt like to you to not have the armed guards, at least, for not having to work, for being able to eat again. Like, what was it like to integrate? And then how long did it take for you to start to feel safe again? I don't even know if you felt safe.
We enjoy reunion, and I enjoy all the food that my mom prepared for me. She had everything, all fresh vegetable, fresh fruit, all organic, and I keep eating. And then I was thinking, I don't mind if I become fat. I'd rather be fat than skinny and exhausted all the time. So it took me about a whole year to finally I got my energy back. I look like normal person, not a single woman that I lost all my weight. I look 95 years old, but I finally recovered back to a young woman again, and still did not feel safe enough. Safe by living with family, but not safe in terms of the whole country because everything was destroyed. There's no infrastructure.
What did you find out from your parents about their experience while you were gone? What were they experiencing when their home was destroyed and not having their daughter with them?
They was evacuated as well. They were not allowed to stay home. But because their family, I have my youngest brother was only like 4 or 5 years old. So they can live as a family for a while, and then later on my dad was separated to work in the camp, and my brother that's next to me, he's become a young man. They also separate him, and my other brother is still a youth, like maybe about 8 or 9 years old. They took him to work with the youth. So everybody went separate way, except my mom with my baby brother.
Were you all reunited?
Yes, when I came back home, we all reunited.
That's amazing. That's a blessing. What did you do? I know you made your way to the States at some point. When did you come to the United States?
After a year recovering from my sickness, my mom encouraged me to leave. It break her heart to let me go again, and it broke my heart to have to leave my family again. But my mom think that because it's not safe to stay where we are, so she pushed me out. She said, "You need to leave to go find my cousin. I have a cousin who went to United States. You look for him."
Mm.
So we live not too far from Thai border. So I went to the Thai border and crossed the border. It's a very dangerous journey, but I went with somebody that my mom trusts. So we crossed the border. Thank goodness, no harm. There's some people who lost their life during crossing the border.
Yeah. When did you go? Was it the middle of the night? Did you plan your exit?
Yeah, I left from home during the night also, and then when we get close to the border, we stay until night time, and then we walk across the border.
Mm.
Very dangerous border.
How were you received when you made it into Thailand? How did you make it out of Thailand then into the States? Did you go to an embassy or what was the pathway to get here?
Thank goodness I was held back for 4 years after the liberation. So that was, I think, maybe God's plan that I was not supposed to be the first one to go to Cambodia because the first several thousands of people died. But when the time that I arrived, the United Nations found out about the flood of refugees get out from Cambodia. So they built a refugee camp. So
Mm.
yeah, by the time I arrived to the Thai border, there was a refugee camp. So I found that camp.
Wow. Amazing. How long were you at the camp before you were able to make it to the States?
A little more than a year. Yeah,
Yeah. How were the conditions there?
not too bad. We got enough food. Life is acceptable.
Life is acceptable. Oh, it's just reframing. How old were you at this age, Sarah, when you were in the camp?
Let's see, about 26.
It's a lot of life that you experienced for a young person in their 20s, especially you went away to the university and you find yourself in dire circumstances. But you talk about hope. And I know that you wrote a book and you said that it's how I survived the killing field. So tell me a little bit about when you wrote the book, why you wrote the book, because I know that you are speaking a lot about what happened to you with the hope of being able to assist others who may be going through difficult circumstances. Tell me a little bit about the book and why you wrote it.
Yeah, the title of the book says How I Survived the Killing Field, a story of hope, love, and determination. So I just want to tell people that not just me alone that make it through. It's so many components that build me up. When the hard time come, I was able to be strong enough to sustain it. I really think that build up a resiliency for our life is very important. Sometimes we cannot see that bad thing could ever happen to our life, but we better be prepared for it. For me, I did not prepare for it, but it happened because my mom had an accident. I was able to serve her, to take care of her, and build up the love relationship with her. So that one component of being resilient is to have love, to have relationship, to be positive. So my life was full of positivity. I did not consider my mom's illness. It's not a distraction. It's something that happened so that I can build my own resiliency. So that's how I look at life. Before I wrote my book, I had somebody who liked my presentation about healthy living and all that. She encouraged me to write a book, and I told her, no, I don't have qualification to write such a well knowledge based book. But I came back to her, I said, I have something to write about, my story that can
Yeah.
be very helpful to people.
Absolutely. And it's such a powerful story, but you have such a tender heart, Sarah. And my question is sometimes when difficult things happen, we can harden ourselves. We can close ourselves off from other humans or become distrustful. And because of the trauma, because of what you experienced, how were you able to have such a tender, loving heart and the courage to be able to talk about your story?
Thank you for that statement. When I look back in my life, even during the hard time, I remember there are a lot of people who helped me during that hard time.
Mm.
In the work camp, when I was so sick, I became blind. They call it a night blindness. You cannot see anything at night time. No matter how close you are to the light, you cannot see it. So when I need to go out to the bathroom, there is no regular bathroom. You have to go to the outhouse far away from where you sleep. And I could not do that by myself. I reach out to my neighbor, my friend that work together. I call them like God sister. I tap on their shoulder, please help me, take me. So they hold my hand, lead me to do what I need to do. So I realize even though I survive, I could be proud of myself, but there are people who help me along the way. When I need to escape, I did not do it myself. I did not do it alone. I have people go
Mm.
with me. I realized that people is very important. We cannot ignore that part.
Yeah, connection is so important. Whew, were you able to ever reunite with any of the friends that you'd made in the camp?
I met two or three of them. One of them lived in California and she did the search. She did the search and she found me and then she
Oh,
reached out to me and we were so excited. We were able to talk by phone and then finally we saw each other 2 years ago.
wow. Amazing that you were able to find each other again. And what was that reunion like when you guys were able to connect and to see each other outside of those circumstances?
We are very happy. We are
Mm,
happy for each other. And yes, we remind about our hard time, but we remember our friendship and we love each other.
yeah. Sarah, what is the message that you hope that people find when they read your book?
I hope that my book will help them to have strength, to have courage, and to have hope. And after all, have love. Love for family, love for people around them.
Mm.
Because we cannot live, we cannot achieve everything by our own self. We need people around us.
That's so true. The process of writing the book, was it healing in any way for you?
For me, it is healing. I let everything out on the paper, and it was healing also to help me think back. A lot of them I already forgot,
Yeah.
and until my friend asked me what happened. So those questions helped me remember how I was able to escape out of the jungle. I forgot all about that until she asked me what happened.
Amazing. Sarah, if folks want to purchase your book or they want to hear you speak or just learn more about even your wellness company, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is to go to my website, saraim.com, SARAIM.com. And I'm also very active on LinkedIn. Just look for my name. I will be there.
And I ask all my guests a final question, Sarah, which is what does it mean to you to live the width of your life?
For me, to live the width of my life is about sharing the knowledge, sharing the encouragement, inspiration, and hope to help people live brighter, help shed the light on people so that they can get out from darkness.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story so generously. Thank you for making this amazing, beautiful impact in the world. And I just wish you continued success and lots of peace. And I know you're already impacting lives. So continued success with that.
Thank you so much, Anita. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate you and all your questions. It's very helpful to me.
Wonderful. Thank you.